Hey lore lovers, my name's Eric with the Lorebrarians YouTube channel, and we've got a special video today where we'll be taking a look at not one but two different characters featured in the upcoming Modern Horizons 2 set. Both come from the distant and often convoluted past of Magic the Gathering, during the pre-revisionist period, where a central theme or universal continuity was lacking throughout the sets and stories of the multiverse. Suffice it to say, these characters are finally receiving printings that are long overdue. Today we'll be discussing a chef like no other, whose special recipes are the rage of the underworld, and a mysterious one-eyed wizard who commands earth-shaking powers. They are Asmoranomardicadaistinaculdacar and Garth One-Eye. But before we begin, if you're a fan of lore and storytelling, or if Magic the Gathering is dear to you, consider subscribing to the channel where lore videos are uploaded frequently. The support is much appreciated. Alright, time to step back into the pre-revisionist times of Dominaria, where stories of the unusual and absurd unfolded. Let's dive in. Asmoranomardicadaistinaculdacar, or Asmor for short, was a powerful wizard and culinary expert on the plane of Dominaria at an undisclosed time. Her life's journey took a turn for the worse when, during a duel, she summoned a Lord of the Pit, but lost control over the powerful demon and ran out of food or sacrifices to feed its tremendous hunger. This demon, named Vincent after the late, great Vincent Price, turned on Asmor and nearly ate her when she offered a most unusual deal. If he would spare her life, Asmor would enter Vincent's service as his personal chef for 7 years and 7 days, feeding him a new succulent dish every meal. Vincent agreed if her meals surprised him, and if he never got bored of them, Asmor would not be the next item on the menu. Asmor got to work in the underworld, meticulously crafting dishes and honing her skills as cook for her demon overlord. She frequently relied on her kitchen imps as helpers around the kitchen, which we can see in cards like Discerning Taste and Kitchen Imp. As the weeks turned into months, and the months turned into years, Asmor surprised Vincent with her culinary prowess, and was able to keep her side of the deal. For 7 years and 7 days she cooked for him, and not once did Vincent get bored of her meals. As her time of servitude neared its end, Vincent begged Asmor to gather all of the recipes she'd made for him over the years and combine them into a cookbook that he could use after she left. Asmor agreed, but only if she could sell copies of the Underworld cookbook in the Overworld. It's actually through this cookbook that we got our first mention of Asmor in the MTG sets. A tale of how to best prepare Gargoyle is told over the flavor text of 3 cards, beginning with Granite Gargoyle way back in Alpha, that reads, "While most Overworlders fortunately don't realize this, gargoyles can be most delicious, providing you have the appropriate tools to carve them." Then, in Lightning Axe, Asmor says, "A gargoyle's meat can be carved with an ordinary cleaver, but for its petrous hide." And finally, in Marble Gargoyle, once past the stony exterior, the meat is exquisite and can be stuffed with phthalids or simmered in a broth of manticore venom. Now, if that doesn't just get the taste buds primed for a juicy treat. Unfortunately, the Underworld cookbook didn't sell very well, and out of Asmor's 20 copies, only 2 were bought, by Vincent and her mother no less. Distraught by her failure, Asmor ordered the imps to burn all her copies, but instead of incinerating them in the furnaces, the imps tossed the cookbooks into the overworld. Lords and ladies of the land caught wind of her recipes, and they became quite vogue in all the courts. The success of her book, as well as the anger from magical creatures hunted from her recipes, pushed Asmor to continue her cookbook line, where readers can find a wide assortment of the tastiest dishes in the multiverse. Our second character has a far less comic, if equally tragic story, that unfolds shortly after 4000 AR in the city of Estark on the continent of Kush. The tale of Garth One-Eye comes to us in the first full-length MTG novel printed in 1994 by Wizards of the Coast, titled Arena. Kush was known for its many mages and spellcrafters, and the lands were ruled over by 5 noble families. The city of Estark was called the Festival City, and had as its main center of attraction an elaborate arena where cunning mages could test their mettle against another in duels for bragging rights and spells. Each mage carried with them a satchel of spells they had gathered through their journeys, and they often wagered spells on the outcome of mystical disputes. But once a year, the arena was filled to bursting with people all over the countryside that flocked to witness the Festival of Estark, an exhilarating duelist tournament showcasing the best and brightest among each of the 5 houses and beyond. Initially intended for safe magical exhibition, the tournament grew more and more violent over time, due in large part to the machinations of the presiding Grand Master of the arena, a wizard named Kuthaman. Kuthaman was obsessed with gathering power and discovering a spell that would grant its user the ability to travel the planes of the multiverse. His lover Curlin was on the precipice of uncovering such a spell through many decades of research and pontification. One day, she figured out the magical formula required to planeswalk, but it demanded an absurd amount of mana from all colors to fuel its use. Kuthaman turned to the 5 noble houses and ordered them to relinquish their mana, so that he could use it to ascend. Although bribes and manipulation worked with 4 of the 5, House Ortel, led by a wizard named Kulinarn, refused to submit. But Kuthaman would not be denied what he saw as his by right. He turned the other noble houses on House Ortel, attacking it with mystical salvos and waves of soldiers, burning it to the ground in a moment that would be remembered as the Night of Fire. Kulinarn was killed alongside every member of House Ortel save one, his 5-year-old son Galen, whose left eye was gouged out by Kuthaman's lackey. The Grand Master took the mana necessary to cast his spell, and that night ascended to the status of Planeswalker. Believed dead, Galen left Estark and assumed the name of Garth, where he would remain for the next 20 years. During this time, Kuthaman relinquished the title of Grand Master of the arena to his underling while he traveled the many planes of the multiverse. Each year, however, he would return to Dominaria during the Festival of Estark to gather his mana tribute to fuel his planeswalking and to watch the most powerful mages go head-to-head. Kuthaman promised to teach the Planeswalker spell to the winner of this tournament. Unbeknownst to the citizens, he instead took them to his own plane, where he murdered them, stealing their spell satchel and removing any threat to his own power. For decades this went on until the 998th annual tournament, 20 years after the Night of Fire, when Galen made his return to Estark, seeking revenge under the guise of Garth. While in exile, Garth gained great power and experience, and acquired many spells that he held within his satchel. If we pull up his card, we can see this sentiment mirrored in his ability. Through his spell satchel, Garth can cast some of the most powerful and memorable spells in all of Magic the Gathering, which also highlights his prowess in all colors of mana. Garth returned to the vibrant city of Estark and entered himself into the festival's dueling tournament. Through his prowess and skill in magecraft, Garth defeated one challenger after another, summoning iconic creatures and casting magical spells that appeared in the first set of Magic the Gathering. His showmanship and abilities earned the crowd's favor, and they gave him the moniker of Garth One-Eye. During the tournament, Garth reveals himself as Galen, living descendant of the 5th noble house, making it clear to Kuthaman that he seeks revenge. The Planeswalker and his Grand Master arrange for the remaining duels to be fights to the death, in hopes that another mage will slay Garth, but none succeed. After besting his last opponent and taking the title of champion of the arena, Garth is taken to Kuthaman's plane, where the Planeswalker attempts to finish what he began and finally end the line of Ortel. The two lock themselves in an epic match of will and cunning. Despite the Planeswalker's years of experience, Garth emerges victorious and even manages to steal Kuthaman's planeswalking spell, himself ascending to the level of Planeswalker. With decades of vengeance fulfilled, Garth returns to Estark to transform the festival into the symbol it once stood for. From there, he retreats to the countryside with his love to rebuild the House of Ortel. Thanks for watching this video on Asmor and Garth One-Eye. Leave a thumbs up if you liked it, and be sure to subscribe for more lore content. Stay tuned next week when we'll be taking a closer look at Dakin and his legendary Blackblade. And now I want to hear from you. Let me know which character you are most excited for in Modern Horizons 2, as well as suggestions for future videos in the comments below. Shout out to Alex Joaquim for the intro and outro music. References used can be found in the description. Until next time, go forth and explore the lore.